I love the way you think, reason through the money models, money model for the business, which is that you don't just run ahead to start building something without thinking about the money. Where did you learn this from?
Trial and error, honestly. Essentially, you've heard of fail fast.
Yeah.
So you really need to just throw yourself into things. And I think having a sales background maybe helps with that, because with sales, you're used to getting no's. You're used to cold calling. You're used to going out there, giving everything away and getting one thing back, So I think that's perhaps, helped build the mentality around, right, I'm just going to go out there and try this and see if it works. There's not really, you don't really have time to be nervous in business or scared. You have to just go for it and see. So yeah, I'd probably say that the sales background has helped me with that.
Wow. I think the best business owners are usually people from the sales background, because salespeople just know how to go for the money.
Oh, do you know what? It's a whole host of things. I mean, of course, it's businesses I've worked with, and truth be told, actually, making the transition from being fully employed in a secure job to being self-employed and running your own show, that's a huge step. And I probably wouldn't have actually had the confidence to do it had I not worked for a company before called Catax. They've now been bought over by Ryan, and they're still one of my close partners. And they had this opportunity to, they were specialists in tax services. So they had this opportunity where instead of me being an employee, I could be an agent, where I still brought them business. I still done the same job that I done when I was in sales. But instead of making a wage, I made commission. And so that was a really nice step into, okay, well, this isn't so scary because I know the R&D tax world. I know the capital allowances world. I've already got a client base set up, so it wasn't a complete new leap into self-employment. And I've done that for 5 years now. So it was a really nice, again, I was lucky to have a team like that. I was lucky to work for a company like that gave me that opportunity. So I think, the sales background has definitely helped me, and the work opportunities that I've had in the past has been useful too.
Your CV runs from Regus to Sweepy to Catax, Ryan, and now to Money Insight.
Yep, diverse.
What pattern did you see? That made you say, I am going to create this opportunity for myself?
Well, I suppose I've had the privilege to work with a startup company like Swipey, as it was back then, all the way up to corporate, global businesses like Monster Recruitment. So I've had the opportunity to work with a complete scale of businesses, and probably what I noticed, the pattern between them all, was how they handle money. Their understanding around how to maximize it, how to get the most out of it. And when it came to working with the smaller companies, that's where I saw, the founders are so in the business that it's sometimes hard for them to look from the outside in. And, what these small companies are trying to do, they're trying to disrupt their industries. They're trying to revolutionize the space that they're in. And of course, they're so passionate about that. But because of that, they don't kind of pull their head out the sand sometimes, and they let opportunities pass them by. And it's simply just because there really is so much support out there, but it's impossible to know always where to look or who to talk to or what questions to ask. So I suppose I noticed that there was basically these companies missing out on financial opportunities that the big boys had, the big corporate companies had, because they've got big teams and they've got, one of the top 4 accountants to work with. So they're sorted. So I sort of noticed that startups and SMEs are the ones that are most impacted when it comes to embracing financial opportunities. And I thought there needs to be something easier to help these businesses, first of all, find these opportunities, but then get matched to the people that can turn that money into reality.
Wow. What's financial, because you talk about financial blind spot a lot. What's give me maybe can you give me one financial blind spot most SMEs miss?
Sure. Well, probably the two most dominant ones will be tax incentives, so maximizing your tax position. And the other one will be grant funding. I mean, at the end of the day, grant funding is government cash. You know, it's there to support you, to move your business forward. And the unfortunate thing about grants is that it's an extremely complex landscape. Very intense, very convoluted, and it can be quite hard to navigate without the right help. If you win the money, superb. But getting to that stage, you need a good bit of help. And I'd say that's an area that they really miss out on.
Who is Karen before this company? What skill sets or worldview made you uniquely able to build this money hub?
That's a really interesting question. Well, I suppose it's important to note that I didn't become self-employed until the age of 30. So up until then, I was very much taught, go to school, go to uni, work hard, get a good job, work your way up in the job. That was kind of, my thinking for a long time. And, I had some great companies that I worked with and I made some good money, and that was a nice, comfortable lifestyle. But when I transitioned into the self-employed world, you'll know yourself, you're steering your own ship, you're your own boss, you then have your own visions, your own ambitions, and you really meet a new side of yourself where you go, wow, you can do that, you can run a business, you know about this stuff, and you know about the money, and you know where to get it, and you kind of impress yourself a bit. And I would say, that the second part of your question, from a skill set perspective, particularly, I think this main idea came particularly from working in the tax industry. So when I was employed by Catax back in 2018, that was my first introduction to research and development tax relief, or patent box relief, or capital allowances relief. These are all tax incentives that businesses can go for. And really, the long and short of what I learned was, if you are doing XYZ activity in your business, there is a tax incentive that might match that. And I just naively assumed that accountants would be all over that. I just thought, well, surely an accountant would know how to maximise that for you. But tax is a very, very niche subject. It's very specialised, and it's not something that the average Joe accountant will be diving deeply into. They'll know a high level overview, but when it comes to maximising tax incentives and tax reductions, this is where specialist tax advisors need to come to the table and work alongside accountants. So my job was to go out there to the UK SME space and say, by the way, do you know that this tax incentive exists if you are doing XYZ?